Everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm gonna make some wintry decorations for in our home. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna tell you guys some scary stories and some urban legends I found on the internet. With that being said, let's go! Christ, I muttered to myself as the flakes of snow started to fall. They gathered in fuzzy clumps over the windshield before my wipers cleared them away. I've been waiting for 20 minutes now in my sister's driveway. Had I chosen to wait inside with her, I had been dead by now, thanks to her two grey cats, cute but little devils, but murderous for my sinuses. Puffy eyes and clogged up throat, that's just what I needed. Every Christmas our family made the annual trip to my grandpa's cabin tucked away in the woods of Hope, in Alaska, and I hoped to beat the heavy snowfall that was forecasted. Since my sister's license was suspended by the DOE, here I was, a hostage to time, with my finger tapping anxiously on the steering wheel. When my mother had asked me to be the one to grab my sister, I had honestly dreaded it from the start. It wasn't that we hated one another, we weren't just as close anymore. After decades of constant arguments and bitter disagreements, we became distant, and our relationship fizzled. Yes, we were siblings, but it felt more accurate to call us the residue of what siblings once were. Finally, like the gates of Valhalla, her front door opened. Out she came. Her hair was forest green, and like the last time I'd seen her, had been white, and before that it was violet. Got everything? I asked, as she clambered her way into the passenger seat. She responded, as she just adjusted her glasses and stuffed her bags in the back seat. And just like that, we were off. Hope was about a 30-minute drive, and it didn't take long for the awkward silence to inflate between us. It didn't really help that the radio didn't work in my car, and that the broken auxiliary port made your music sound like it was having a seizure. By the time we reached the turnoff for Hope Highway, the road was turning into a thick white sheet. Thankfully, on Christmas Eve night, the long stretch to Hope Smoke Country was quick and vacant. The cabin was tucked away in the forest of trees 5 miles off the main road. As we made the turn, my sister cranked the window open, pulled out a blunt and lit it with her lighter. Want a hit? She asked. The snow crunched beneath us. Not while I'm driving. It's a straight path. We're practically there already. She took a drag and blew it out the window. I just want to focus on this, alright? She huffed and pushed her glasses. If you're that worried, maybe slow down a little bit then. There was a jab, a piece of bait, just to lure me into another fight. But I wasn't going to bite. Not this time. She could live with us getting there faster. The drive was almost over, and soon I'd be in a warm living room with my feet up, spiked and eggnog in my hand, and Bobby Helms' Jingle Bells rock in the air. I could already hear Uncle Jet spouting off one of his crude jokes. Why the Santa Claus had just a big... Dude! My sister shrieked, jabbing a finger in my side and whipping my mind back to the windshield. The car had just finished winding around a thick trail. The large body of a reindeer stood in our path, eyes wide open and blank. It didn't move as the high beams found it. Snapped into a panic, I twisted the wheels in a desperate swerve. The car veered greasily to the side in a fine spray of slush. The reindeer, known as a caribou, even the bumper soared inches from its nose. We became to a crushing halt of the main path. Jesus, I sighed with relief. Did we hit it? No, my sister said, leaning out the window to check, while exhaling another plume of smoke. I wound the steering wheel back around and pressed on the gas. The wheels shriveled in place, kicking up globs of sleet. Perfect, I moaned, and unfolded myself from the seat to check it out. The front tires were caked in black slush and practically swallowed in mounds of snow. I kicked at it, trying to clear it off the icy debris from the treads and beneath the wheel as well. When it tired me out, I resorted to scraping it off with my fingers. Screw off, Prancer! I heard my sister call towards the dark silhouette of the reindeer. Its antlers were gnarled like fingers reached. Then she made a sort of startling yip, followed by I looked up from the scrim of snow. The reindeer was now standing tall, on both of his hind legs. It looked strange, like a silly character you'd see in a kid's book, but out there in the silence of the woods, it was a creepy image. The way its fake shape stood on just two legs held almost a human-like balance. For whatever reason, I realized then it didn't have a tail. Its muscular neck craned to the side and let out an ululating scream, a miserable squeal of metal grinding against metal. My legs were ice sculptures, cementing me to the spot as the shriek grinded it down to a succession of wet grunts. The reindeer dropped down to its original posture and stomped heavily. Puffs of white vapor and strings of snot vented from its nostrils. I was no hunter, but it didn't take a lot to tell when a pissed off animal was about to charge. I leaped into the driver's seat, pulled open the door and slammed it shut, just as the muffled thuds of hoofs reached me. Enter scraped the door as his large body practically flew over the patch I had just been standing in. Fast, very, very fast. My sister screamed as a large bulk of his frame wound back around and charged again, this time shattering the headlights and merging us into darkness. "Just go already," my sister hollered in my ear. "I'm trying, goddammit," I hissed. The wheels continued to spin helplessly. We were trapped. The creature charged again, this time nailing the window. A cobweb of cracks bloomed near my sister's head. I searched for anything, literally anything, that I could use as a weapon. I was never a gun enthusiast. But at that moment I had shaved my head and joined the secular monks if it meant having a Glock in my hand, ran then and there. After rattling the car once more, the reindeer finally appeared to lose interest and disappeared amidst the cluster of trees. Granted some of the time to breathe and think, we phoned our dad and told him about the situation. He was going to come down in his pickup truck and get us unstuck from this mess. I looked over at my sister, who was taking a long and steady breath between her fingers. "Are you alright?" I asked. "What do you think?" she grumbled. "I told you to slow down." Another jab, and this time I wasn't going to have it. "You want to be useful?" I yelled. "Get out and push. No? Then shut the hell up. I don't need this right now." She said nothing else, and neither did I, returning once again to the pocket of silence that our relationship has succumbed to. The sooner that headlights peeked in the distance, the better. Suddenly, she rolled down the window. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Shh," she pursed her lips. "Just listen." Humoring her, I waited, and sure enough, the sound reached me too. The quiet voice of a little girl coming from the outside. "Somebody," it whimpered. "I'm lost. Please help me. I'm lost." My sister unlocked the door and motioned to open it. I grabbed her wrist. "What are you doing?" she snapped. "There is someone out there." "Just wait a second, isn't it weird?" The voice continued to whine, choking between sobs and pleading for someone, anyone to help her. I didn't like the way it sounded. The same last drawl between words, the same weeping sounds, like someone was hitting on repeat on a speaker, or something wasn't right, and my instincts were hoisting red flags left and right. Then my sister looked at me, and her expression warped into shock. She flung back, pinned both her shoulders against the interior. Things that sounded like words bubbled up, but didn't quite make it out of her throat. I turned and saw that what was looking at me. It had the face of a man, surrounded by mottled fur of a caribou's body. The skin was mummified brown color, wound tightly around its long skull like an old crinkled leather. Snowflakes landed upon its wide, expressionless eyes and melted into the dark membranes of its pupils. It circled around the car, bobbing its antlers and fogging up the windows as it peered inside. My heart shook and the walls of my throat. I locked eyes with my sister, unable to say anything behind the sheer disbelief. I should have grabbed my phone, snapped a photo, recorded a video, anything, but my tongues were jangled. Then it let out the same horrible scream, but it didn't see its tight, contorted lips open. The sound was coming from its neck, like small, fleshy orifices, flapping open like mouths were converting the high-pitched squeal into a mimic cry of a little girl. "Help me, I'm lost, help me!" Lights glazed the area. My father's pickup truck had come into view, paving its way down the path. The reindeer, or whatever it was, ran off, vanishing once again into the snow-covered thicket. Nobody believed us, and why would they? If anybody had told me that story, I would have assumed they were hopped up on some crazy psychedelics or drank too much of the eggnog. Reality is that I saw was cold, and it's something I still to this day can't fully swallow. Instead of sleeping at night, my sister and I did some research that led us to the myth of the skinwalkers, beings of some sort, capable of mimicking voices and disguising themselves as animals to lure people into their woods. After reading other accounts, there wasn't a doubt in my mind that we witnessed one out there. Every so often at night I stare out of the window and eye the yard, wondering if the literary face watching from the trees is still there. Neither I nor my sister ever made the trip again, much to the frustration of our family, but there was a silver lining. She and I have never been closer. So after this bone-chilling story, I wanted to tell another one. First I thought about the story of the Nutcracker, but almost everyone knows the story of the Nutcracker, so I was thinking, what else can I talk about? And then I came across something else. Something that even creeps me out. And that is haunted dolls. So I looked on the internet and here's some I found. So the next story is about a Japanese doll. So because the names are in Japanese, it could be that I don't pronounce them properly, so don't come at me for that. But now the story. In 1918, a teen named Ichiki Suzuki bought a large doll from Hokkaido Providence for his younger sister Okiku. The two became inseparable, and Okiku gave the doll her own name. About 40 centimeters tall and wrapped in classical kimono, the doll was lovely. Her hair was raven black and trimmed roughly shoulder length in a traditional Okappa hairstyle. Her eyes were penetrating coals that seemed to consume everything up in their glaze. The thing was mesmerizing and spellbinding, something to take your breath away. A couple of years later, Okiku died. Her family came to believe that Okiku's ghost was occupying the doll. The thing would move around and, even more creepy, her hair was growing. The doll is now resides in a special shrine in Manaji Temple in Hokkaido. The priests of the temple have to regularly cut the hair of the still growing hair from the doll. The next story. From her former owner. So the former owner states, I found her outside my door one morning with a note that said to not put her by mirrors or in the same room as I slept in. I gave her a flashlight so she could drain the batteries, but instead she made my light flicker at night. My cat would not go near her, and my dog would just stare. At times I would be woken up from a dead sleep, smelling burnt toast, or something like a sweet fruity smell. Her favorite color is red. That's all I know. The doll started to act strange and give off extremely unnerving. So that's when her owner decides to reach out to a paranormal research group. They came around and they told about these type of dolls. These handmade figurines like Lily were left out to scare out local spirits and New World's ghost, an archaic custom dating back to the time from the Vikings and the Romans. They couldn't do anything for her, and so the doll stayed with the owner. So that's were all the stories for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the stories and will come back for more. I will post every week on Sundays, and if you like the video, like it, subscribe if you want more of this type of content, ring the notification bell, and hope you guys have a really nice and spooky day. Bye bye, and thank you so much for watching this video.